first of all like to congratulate the Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Seth Amwamwa. It has been a very interesting program. I'm privileged to be among you, and I wish to extend the hearty congratulations of all the lawyers in Africa to the Ghana Navy. I hope we can collaborate further. I'd also like to thank the organizers for inviting me today. We have a very short time to talk about a lot of things, and I will not speak in zones. I have a flyover for all zones to speak on behalf of Africa. The main documents, as you know probably, are the Constitutive Act of the African Union 2000, Agenda 2063, the Africa We Want by 2063, the African Maritime Transport Charter as revised, the African Integrated Maritime Strategy 2050, and then the African Charter on Maritime Security, Safety and Development, briefly known as the Lome Charter. As far as the Constitutive Act goes, I think two articles are maybe of interest. Article 3L, which deals with regional economic committees, and the African Union has fully endorsed those that were existing before under the former Organization of African Unity. And then Article 4D enjoins member states to establish a common defense policy for the African continent. So I guess this meeting couldn't be more timely, and it's certainly in consonance with the aims of the African Union. If I may fast forward to Agenda 2063, let's say that Agenda 2063 is the compass. It's pointing towards the blue and ocean economy, and that is mostly a policy and aspirational document, but it guides us in our deliberations. Let me say also that apart from Agenda 2063, the African Union Commission on International Law, to which I belong, is only an 11-member body at any given time. We are to try to harmonize international law, codify African laws that pertain to international matters, so that at the end of a certain period we'll have a clear idea of international law as seen from an African perspective, if you wish. And we prepare model laws, we engage member states in discussions, and I think one of our main tasks is to, when a convention has been ratified by the requisite number of member states, is to put that into a model law for the use of member states, all towards harmonizing our laws on the African Union matters. I would say that AIMS 2050 is the navigational document regarding the maritime domain. And I happen to be the special rapporteur for maritime security and piracy in our commission. So this is of exceptional interest to us. We don't have that much time, and I'm sure you're already familiar with the documents I'm citing. So I'll fast forward to what the African Union is doing now that may be of relevance to you. Well, like all bureaucracies, all these noble and lofty policies have been adopted, and then it looks like the file went missing somewhere. By Executive Council decision in 2014, Executive Council being the Ministers of Foreign Affairs, typically, they precede the African heads of state and government before their summit meetings. So it's like a clearinghouse. They were tasked, the legal officer of the African Union, to take the lead and initiative in coordinating all the departments and stakeholders that have an interest or are enjoined by the various instruments to promote the African maritime strategy or the blue economy, which is, as you know, is wider than the maritime strategy. So that was in 2014, and it appears that for 4 years, the file lay somewhere collecting dust. In In 2018, with the advent of a new legal counsel and myself, we have tried to jumpstart, and I think succeeded reasonably well, in reviving interest and activity towards the implementation and operationalization of the various charters and statutes. I would say the closest we have come at this time is the Lome Convention, or the Lome Charter, pardon me, the Lome Charter. The Lome Charter has been signed by 35 of 54 African states who attended that meeting, but there's only been one ratification, which is the host country, Togo. I'm not sure that I understand what is preventing the others, but it's only 2 years old, and 2 years is not a long time in the operations of member states. But suffice it to say, the whole area has come into focus again, and we need to have a concerted effort to move the agenda along. So within the Legal Counsel's office in the African Union, various task forces have been set up since last year. If we want a task force on fisheries, they must focus on getting the fisheries parts operationalized. If we want a task force on maritime security, that must focus on getting the maritime security aspects going. Various annexes are expected to the Lome Charter, and these must all be worked on, circulated among member states, and so forth and so forth. Yesterday, I was encouraged to hear the Naval Chief of Nigeria say that Nigeria has already passed its modern, or I say contemporary law pertaining to the maritime domain. But let's not forget that the head of state of Nigeria is an army gentleman. He's a member of the forces. It doesn't detract from the worthy accomplishment of Nigeria, and I'd like to see your law. Nothing stops a member state from going ahead. The Lome Charter is there. If you choose to ratify and domesticate it, you can move on with your own law. The umbrella law, as we all know, or the umbrella convention, is the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, passed in, I think, 1982. So there's enough scope for member states to get motivated, and we'll see what Nigeria did that has put them ahead of everybody in this regard. You know, they were the last state to sign the free trade agreement. So if they are first in this sector, then we should be looking at what Nigeria has done. Apart from the task force, we hope to evolve various model laws. Model law for the fisheries, model law for defense and security, but these are the most important things. There's universal support and interest for this sector. Last week, I was a delegate for my commission to the UN International Law Commission. And I was asked the question, in the maritime field, what would I prioritize? And I said that I prioritize piracy and maritime security. They seem to me to be the underpinnings and the most important areas at this time if we want to jumpstart the whole program. I think I have said as much as I need to say. I don't know what will come up in question time. I can only add that there's been massive support for the RECs and for the work they do, and without detracting from anybody's efforts. Whenever my commission meets, we give a country update, all the commissioners, what's happening in your area. We also talk about the RECs, and I'm pleased to say that ECOWAS is way ahead, very well coordinated. Of course, there's always room for improvement, but I think we're on the right track. Given the resources and the opportunities, we shall do well. I just add a footnote. As commissioners, we determined that in discussing Agenda 2063, the future of the African Union, the young people need to be very familiar, need to be made aware, just as when we were starting the OAU. Many schools, many young people knew what the aspirations were. So we need to revisit that philosophy with Agenda 2063. And I don't know if there were any students who visited the ships that have come in. Rear Admiral, I don't know whether you included any student tours on the ships that have come in, But in doing your activities and in the course of your celebration this year, I'm sure a lot of students would love to visit. Cadet Corps is in all the schools. I don't know, it's like an epidemic that has spread through the schools. So I'm sure they'll value an opportunity to visit a naval base. I hope to visit you when I come for the bar conference in Takoradi. Thank you very much.
Okay.